Hey guys, it's Miss Thomas here. I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to memorize the locations of the states. Okay, so the first area we're going to look at is the area that is known as New England. So that is up in here, up in here. All right, you got this little area right here. Okay, so these were some of the first original states, original colonies. And their shapes are all unique because they were made and they were built around the lakes and the rivers and the mountain ranges that were in the area at the time. So one thing I want you to remember is Maine. Maine is at the very top here, and so it's like number one. It's the main idea. Get it? Ha 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 ha. You know, like Maine is spelled M-A-I-N-E, you know. But main idea is M-A-I-N, that's the main idea. So it's at the top, it's at the beginning. Okay then. All right, next we have Vermont. Vermont is shaped like a V. See how it's like wide at the top and narrow at the bottom? It is a V, Vermont, okay? And New Hampshire is like its upside down twin. And they're like back to back, like, you know, Charlie's Angels. Just kidding. But they are back to back. So New Hampshire is like a lowercase h. So it's like this, see? It's narrow at the top and wide at the bottom. So Vermont, New Hampshire. Now, Massachusetts has a little hook that goes out into the water because in Massachusetts they like to fish. So see the fishing hook? They're going to catch the little fishies. Should we draw a little fishy? Here's a little fishy that they're going to catch in Massachusetts. Okay, that's an eye on the fish. It's like a little goldfish. Okay, now New York is here. This is New York. This is New York State, not New York City. Okay, and Rhode Island is not an island. Yes, I know that is confusing. But it is small, like an island. And if it was an island, then Connecticut would connect New York to Rhode Island. Connect. Get it? C-O-N. Connect. It would be a little bridge. It would connect New York to Rhode Island if Rhode Island were actually an island. But it's not. Okay. Next we have the middle colonies, which we've already done one, New York. And the other middle colonies are right here. Now why do I say middle colonies? Because they were colonies before they were states. And you're going to need to know, oops, I left one out. You're going to need to know next year, when you're in 8th grade, that these were colonies. Okay, so this is what we have in the middle colonies. We have New York. We have New Jersey, which New Jersey kind of is shaped like an S. So think of Jersey Shore, you know, like Snooki. S for Snooki, S for Jersey Shore. And then Delaware kind of has this part of it. Here, let me get the eraser because it's kind of hard to see. No, I messed up the Snooki S. Let me put it back. Delaware has this part of it that looks like an L. Delaware. Okay. So what's left? You guessed it. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is shaped like a pen. You know, like you put animals in a pen, and a pen is square. Do you see the square? Pennsylvania. It's shaped like a square. So those are the middle colonies. Next we have the southern colonies. And I don't know about you, but sometimes my family used to drive out of Florida. And when we would drive out of Florida, we'd go in a certain order. So I like to do the southern colonies from Florida up. So let's see. Start with the Sunshine State. Hey, if you don't know where Florida is, we have a problem. Call your mommy and daddy. tell them you don't know what state you live in because this is an issue. All right, so here's Florida, Sunshine State. When you come out of Florida, as you head north, when you leave Florida, you will go to Georgia. That is what's next. Georgia. When you leave Georgia, if you keep heading north, you will go to the Carolinas. Now, let me ask you, do you know your north from your south? Because there are some students that do not, so this will not help them. But if you know your north from your south, then you know that this has to be North Carolina, which would mean that this has to be South Carolina. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, when you leave North Carolina, as you continue to head north, the next state that you will go in is Virginia. So this one is Virginia. Virginia is big. Virginia was the originator of the large states plan. Do you remember the large state plan? When it originated the large states plan, it still also had this area right here. And this area used to be part of Virginia. It used to all be one state. Then we had the Civil War. When we had the Civil War, this part of Virginia wanted to stay in the Union. So they separated from the rest of Virginia and they made themselves West Virginia. There's a song that goes, West Virginia, Mountain Mama. That's because in Virginia, West Virginia, there are mountains. And that's why this part of the country didn't have slaves. So therefore, they wanted to join the North and not the South. Finally, just north of Virginia, if we keep heading north of Virginia, is this area right here, which is Maryland. Can you kind of see the M? See how it goes up and then down and then up and then not really. That's Maryland. Okay? So now you have all of the states that are on what we call the eastern seaboard. Because this right over here, this, ladies and gentlemen, is known as the Atlantic Ocean, right? See the waves? Atlantic Ocean. So these are known as the states on the eastern seaboard. Okay. Next, we're going to do these three together. We want to group the states together when we study them because if we break it into smaller chunks and don't try to memorize all 50 at once, it makes our life a little easier. Okay, so what do we do for these right here is I think of the letter M, but what if you take the letter M and you copy it and you paste it, but then you turn it upside down. Becomes a W. Ooh, ah, okay. And then we have another M. So it's Minnesota, Wisconsin, think of the cheeseheads, you know, Green Bay Packers, football, and then Michigan. And Michigan kind of looks like a little mitt, you know how like you wear a mitt when you're cold? See the shape? Looks like a mitt. So those are, let me show you the mitt part. See, it looks like a mitt, like a little oven mitt or a mitt that you would wear on your hand when you were little and you didn't want to put your fingers through a glove. Okay, and this part over here is also part of Michigan. People forget that part. All right, but those two parts together make up Michigan. So MWM stands for Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan. The other reason why I remember that Minnesota is this one and not this one is that it is higher north. So these little bubbles that I'm making, those are soda bubbles because soda bubbles rise to the top because, look, Minnesota is higher than Michigan. All right, so that's our next little cluster. Now we're going to do the I-I-I-O, I like to call it. So that is going to be this grouping right here. This right here. So, like I said, it's I, you guessed it, I, and then what? Oh. All right. This word and this word are both four-letter words. Iowa, Ohio. Okay. So then you say, okay, well, how do I know which I state this is and which I state this is? We know this is Iowa because it's a four-letter word and it balances out the other four-letter word like bookends. Well, the second letter in this state is L because this is Illinois and it is long like the letter L, Illinois. And then the second letter in this state is an N, which an N is kind of shaped like this, which is approximate to the shape of the state, kind of square. So we have Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Are you with me so far? All right, I'm just going to do two more clusters today, and then we'll get the western part of the states in the next lesson. But let's do this. We have a little something over here I like to call the Mama L. M-A, you guessed it, M-A. Now, what are those letters in the shape of? Anybody, anybody, anybody? An L. Do you see the L shape? Doot, 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 doot. Doot, 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 doot. Yeah? Kind of, sort of, not really. L, okay, Mama L. So what do those letters stand for? M is Missouri. A is Arkansas. M is Mississippi. And A is Alabama. Now, if you remember that Alabama touches, where do you live? Where do you live? Where do you live? Oh, wait, that's right. I know where I live. I live in Florida. Okay, so Alabama touches Florida. Mississippi touches the Mississippi River, which ends here and then goes like this. Wow. It's hard because it goes on this curvy border. This is the Mississippi River. It divides all these states. And it goes up and then it has other tributaries that come from the Great Lakes. Okay? So that's the Mississippi River and it touches what state? What state? What state? Mississippi. Okay, so this is Arkansas. Okay, and this is Missouri. Missouri, they call it the show me state. So I say show me Arkansas. I don't know. It's just something to remember. Finally, we have Louisiana, which is this L shape and also touches the Mississippi River, and it has the port city of New Orleans, which is part of Louisiana. And if you are a football fan, you've probably heard of the team in Louisiana called the New Orleans Saints. They're from Louisiana, if you didn't know. Okay, so again, what are our clusters? New England, main idea, shaped like a V for Vermont, shaped like a lowercase h for New Hampshire. Massachusetts, shaped like a hook for little fishy. Connecticut connects the island, that's not an island, Rhode Island, to New York. New York brings us to our middle states or middle colonies, which are New York, Pennsylvania, which is shaped like a pen, you know, that you hold animals in, which is a square. We have New Jersey, which is shaped like an S for New Jersey Shore, and Delaware, which is shaped like The L of Delaware on the western and southern border of the state is shaped like a perfect L. Then we go south and come north. And we go from Florida to Georgia to South Carolina to North Carolina to Virginia to West Virginia. Then we have both Maryland, which is shaped like an M. And again, back to Delaware. I did miss two. I apologize. Excuse me, please. The two that I missed are the ones that are kind of like the oddballs of the group. They're not really in a cluster. And one of them is right here. And it is, in my opinion, looks like a piece of Kentucky Fried Chicken. So I'm going to color it the chicken color. How funky is your chicken? How loose is your goose? Okay, so it doesn't look like a drumstick. Like here's the top and then here's like the handle. It's not letting me color. Where's my highlighter? Now it's darker. Okay, so there's your Kentucky Fried Chicken. And then you have what I call the top hat. You know how like the top of the top hat is flat like this? Tennessee. Tennessee. So Tennessee and Kentucky for Kentucky Fried Chicken. So that's our third cluster. Come up to the top and you have the MWM. You flip it, right? Take the M, like your flashing gang symbols, flip it to a W, flip it to an M. This one is Minnesota with the soda bubbles that rise to the top. It's the highest. This one is Wisconsin cheese. This one is Michigan mitt. Then you have the IIIO. Is that like BINGO? If the B was over here. BIIN. There's no G. Never mind. IIIO. Four-letter word, Iowa. Four-letter word, Ohio. Long and lean, Illinois. And like a square, Indianapolis. Oops, Indiana. Indianapolis is the capital. We'll do that later. Then we have the Mama L, M-A-M-A. Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and then the other L, double L, Louisiana. Mama L. Let me know if you have any questions. We will do the rest of the states later. Bye. Did I not record?